Well, hello and welcome everybody to the New Health Conversation. I'm so excited today, I can't even stand it. As you know, at the New Health Conversation, we always have devoted ourselves only to medical proof. We don't give out opinions. I don't want you to believe me, despite the fact I've been a nutritional researcher for more than 23 years. So today I'm bringing on my friend, a colleague, one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. He's one of the top radiological oncologists in the world. He's also a molecular biologist. He worked with two people that won the Nobel Prize in medicine. I could go on, but that's enough of an intro. He kind of knows what he's doing. And today we're going to talk about his marvelous revolutionary breakthrough called Bravo. Now, although it's called a probiotic, it really is in a whole different world as you're all going to learn today. Now, unfortunately, because of the time zones and some things, we had to do this. We couldn't do it live, but you're going to trust me, it's going to be action packed as we go through. So, welcome, Dr. Ruggiero. We're so happy to have you at the New Health Conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Peter. It is a pleasure, honor, and privilege talking with you once again, I should say, because now it's how long? 12 years, 13
Yes,
years
over 13
since we
years.
first met. We first met in Chicago at a rather famous autism conference when you came to our place and you began asking questions. As far as I understand, you are still asking questions. And there is a reason for this, and not because I didn't answer, because you know this topic is so complex. Here we're talking about the microbiome medicine. It is an evolving topic, so probably we shall never stop asking questions. So
Right,
today I shall
right.
try to do my best to answer some of your questions.
All right.
And but remember, this is not our last conversation,
Of
definitely
course,
not, because there are
course.
so many things to say.
And before we begin, I need to make the disclaimer that I always say. So we're not here to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any diseases. Let's be very, very clear. This is for educational purposes only. And Dr. Ruggiero is here to explain. He invented. We have the inventor of this unbelievable. I don't even know how to describe it. That's what we're going to get into now. I'm so excited. I just can't wait. I'll try and shut up, which you all know if you follow me on TikTok, whatever. That's hard for me to do. But I'm going to turn it over now. I'm going to ask him a series of questions. We're going to start with the first question, Dr. Ruggiero. Really, I think this is strange, but it's not. My audiences always want to know kind of like what's in it for them. So the first question is, what is it doing for people? That's the first thing I think I want you to answer.
Okay, actually, this is a tough question, but I try to do my best to answer it as simple as possible. What does it do for people? Simply, it replaces and transplants and keeps healthy the most important organ of ours. So we have several organs. We have the brain, we have the heart, we have the lungs, the kidneys, and so on. And systems, of course, the immune system, the central and the peripheral nervous system. Okay, we all know about this. But recently, I would say not so much recently, more than 10 years ago, another organ was, so to speak, discovered, the human microbiome. We used to think about the gut microflora as all those microbes, bacteria, and so on that are in our gut that help us with digestion, but we didn't give much importance to them. Today, we know that we cannot be alive, we cannot function, we cannot have a functioning immune system or a central nervous system without those microbes. And collectively, they are called the human microbiome. And they are not localized only in the gut, they are localized everywhere in our skin, in our nose, in our lungs, in our bronchi, even inside our brains. We have microbes, and these microbes are highly beneficial for us. Actually, without them, we couldn't function. So this organ, which is a diffuse organ, is not localized like in the thorax or in the gut or in the abdomen. This organ is called the human microbiome. And the human microbiome is so complex that as of today, still there are areas that needs to be explored. So while we know everything about the heart, we know everything about the lungs or the kidneys, we know much, but not everything about the microbiome. So complex, so diversified it is. And the product that I have invented, which actually is more than a product, is a kind of a protocol, is called Bravo. It's what it is needed to keep this organ healthy, to replace this organ when this organ is subject to injuries due to antibiotics. Unfortunately, we have antibiotics everywhere. It's not only when you have a pneumonia or something that you take shots of antibiotics. Whenever you eat something, most likely you eat traces of antibiotics or chlorine in your water, in our water, my water as well. So all these things, not to mention electromagnetic fields or pervasive pollution, all these things, they affect all of our organs, of course, but mostly the microbiome. And so our microbiome might be corrupted, might be unbalanced. But unlike all other organs that can be transplanted, it's kind of difficult. A heart transplant can be done. It was done by some South African surgeon, thoracic surgeon, 40 years ago. But again, it's not an easy task to have a heart transplant or even a kidney transplant. All these things can be done. But to transplant or to keep healthy the microbiome is rather easy, as to swallow a pill of Bravo or to have a serving of the Bravo yogurt, which is the same thing. So what does it do for you? Simply, it keeps healthy the most important organ of yours, the human microbiome. And why does it need to be kept healthy? Because the human microbiome, it is constantly under attack by antibiotics, by preservatives, by all that stuff that unfortunately is in our food, in our water, even in the air that we breathe. It is constantly under attack by electromagnetic fields. I have to have a Wi-Fi around me, otherwise we could not connect. And the Wi-Fi is not that harmless. Most likely it doesn't do much to our human cells, but it does a lot to the cells of the microbiome. And just to give you an idea about the proportions or the ratio, we have a certain number of human cells in our bodies, the cells of the skin, the cells of the muscles, and so on and so on. Well, if you count the number of microbial cells, those that make up the microbiome, the number is 10 times higher. So from the point of view of cells, we are only 10% human, because 90% of the cells that are in our bodies in this moment are microbial cells. So this is why I'm telling you that this is the most important organ of ours, because it encompasses 90%, 90% of the cells of our body. So that's why we want to keep it healthy. And the Bravo, as Peter said, is much more than a probiotic. It is a complete microbiome. It is a complete microbiome replacement, if you like, or it is a complete microbiome support system or support project, because it is an ongoing project. Every day, the microbiome is under attack by a variety of factors, and every day, by taking Bravo under the form of a pill, of a capsule, or under the form of a yogurt, you can make a yogurt at home with Bravo, then you reconstitute or keep healthy your microbiome. But then there is something that, this is one of the answers that Peter doesn't know, because up until now I've said things that Peter knows, but what I'm about to say, now I just give you an insight. Maybe later we can talk about this in detail. Is about genes, genetic information. You all know, I presume, even if you are not a molecular biologist, that we have DNA in our cells. And DNA is like the blueprint for the proteins to function, for our body to function. DNA is the molecule of life, so to speak, because in all living things, from plants to viruses, bacteria, elephants, and humans, the DNA is where there is the genetic information that tells our cells how to work. And this genetic information is under the form of what are called genes. Think of DNA as an instruction manual, and think about genes as the words inside this instruction manual. So the DNA doesn't do anything, but just like the instruction manual doesn't tell you how to repair your car, but that doesn't repair the car itself. Simply it's a book. Well, nowadays it's online, but whatever. So the instruction manual doesn't do anything by itself, but it tells you how to repair your cars, and you follow the instruction by reading each single word and hopefully you will be able to repair your car, your computer, your iPhone. Maybe it's more difficult, whatever. Now, genes, they do the same. Genes are the words inside this instruction manual that is the DNA. Now, how many genes are needed to make a man, a human? You would say, I don't know, maybe millions, billions, because we are so complex. No, not at all. Only 22,000. So the instruction manual for making a human is made of 22,000 words. 22,000, it's a significant number, but it's not astronomical. And how many genes in the human microbiome? 500,000. Can you imagine? 500,000 of genes. So that's why, again, I'm saying that the microbiome is our most important organ and often the most neglected. We take care of our heart, we exercise, we take care of our cholesterol, but most often we don't take much care of our microbiome. Now, how many genes are there in Bravo? More than 450,000, so close to the exact number of the human microbiome. And all this is backed by science, all this has been published. Now, why am I putting such an emphasis on genes? Because genes is biological information, life is information. And so if our most important organ, the microbiome, has around 500,000 genes, and these genes, they provide all the information that is needed for our functioning, for our health. Then Bravo provides 95% of that information, 450,000 genes. And again, all this has been published. No other probiotics comes even closely to this because, other probiotics, we can talk about this, but I don't like to denigrate anything or anybody. I'm simply saying that we are in a completely different class with Bravo. Bravo is not a probiotic, it's a microbiome reconstitution protocol. So what does it do for you? Simply, it keeps healthy your most important, your most diversified organ, without which you don't have immunity, your brain doesn't work, your kidneys do not work properly, and so on and so on. I don't know if I have been able to answer this
Yes,
question.
but
Question is
again,
complex.
now I know what everybody always asks me. By the way, everybody, just to let you know, you can get Bravo. You get it directly from Bravo. You do Bravo Dash North America, put in TikTok 25. Dr. Ruggiero and his team have been gracious enough to give you a 25% discount. The pills are called the freeze dried, or like you said, the yogurt kit. I'm lazy, so I take the pills. And also the new health conversation. We don't sell anything to you. Let's be very clear. You're buying directly from, it's Bravo Dash North America. Make sure you put the dash. We'll also put it on the screen so you can follow up. And then TikTok 25. That's about as simple as you can get it. So I just want to make sure they understand that we're not just talking theoretical here. It's actually a real product. I take it every single day myself and have been for years. But I think the thing that the audience always wants to know, okay, that sounds great, what you've just talked about. But it's kind of like the old commercial. You were around, I think, when that commercial, where's the beef? Now we're saying, where's the proof? What's the scientific proof to back up what you've just said? Because I know you have it. So please expound on that.
Well, first of all, let's say, introduce myself. I have been a scientific researcher for more than 40 years. My first peer-reviewed scientific paper dates back to